Hey, I'm glad to be with all of you. Thanks for joining me for another great video, another great time to be together. I want to say hello to all of you that have joined my live stream today. I'm David Burns, EAS Master Beekeeper, and I enjoy these live streams every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So, someone once said a week or two ago that, hey, I need more notification of when you're going to do a live stream. Well, here's the notification every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. So good to see you guys in the chat, making comments and all. Thank you for joining me tonight. We have a great 1 hour scheduled. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. Primarily, I'm going to be talking about how to make a more accurate and thorough hive inspection. I know we have some of you that are very experienced beekeepers. You've been making inspections. You could do it blindfolded. Others are biting your nails. You're scared to death about making your first hive inspection. It's funny, as a new beginner, I can remember this. Maybe you can too if you're an experienced beekeeper, or if you're a brand new beekeeper, you can probably remember or think about what it's going to be like making that first inspection. I always kind of get a kick out of it because a lot of times new beginners, they'll install their package, for example. Most beekeepers that start out usually start with a package, and they pour the bees in there, and they, put the queen in there, take the cap off the queen cage, put her in there, and just hope to goodness that it doesn't turn cold and there's flowers that are bloom or something, and they're scared to death. I'm going to have to inspect it in a week or so, 3 days or a week, and they're biting their nails. I remember the first time I did it, I got some instructions. This was like a billion years ago, but I got some instructions, and I was like trying to memorize what I'm supposed to do in 5 days or a week. And anyway, the new beginner goes in there and make their first inspection, and they've put 10,000 bees in a deep box, 10 frames. And lo and behold, it's such a unbelievable experience when a new beginner makes their first inspection, because what they do is they pull out the frames that are close to the wall. There's nothing on them at all, and so all at once they start getting closer to where all the bees are, and they start inspecting, and they're like, maybe they'll pull the queen cage up and they'll say, oh, I don't know, there's bees in there. Maybe the queen's in there. But there's just this moment in time that kind of freezes when they pull up a frame. There's some drawn out white wax. Do you know what I'm talking about? Beautiful white wax, brand new wax on the comb, on the frames. And they see their queen walking around, and they see eggs. At that moment in time, that new beginner, it's worth it. It's worth all the money I spent. It's worth all the education I took to know what I'm doing. And I'm a beekeeper. I did it. The clouds part and the sun shines upon you, and you just feel so good, I am a successful beekeeper. And you have no idea what awaits you in the future. It's like, a year later, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't keep bees anymore. Inspecting bees, your hive inspections can be really tough at times. And so today I thought it'd be fun for me to talk about hive inspections and just a little bit about what it's like to inspect your hive. I do find a lot of people sort of go after that inspection with a lot of, I guess, naivete. They don't really know what they're supposed to be looking for. I've inspected with people even taking a master beekeeper test. And sometimes the more experienced beekeepers maybe they're nervous, but they're just not really doing an inspection the way they should be doing it. So I thought it'd be good for us to kind of talk about some mistakes people make when they make hive inspections, and to also talk about how do you make an accurate inspection. All right, well, let me start off here. Slide number 1, it says, how often should you inspect your hive? Well, I really think you should inspect your hive about once every 2 weeks. About every 2 weeks is enough. Now, it's hard for people to stay out of their hives when they're new, and you're a new beginner. You want to look in there often. And, people ask me, can you inspect your hive too often? And I would have to say, yeah, you can. It all depends on you. It all depends on how good you are at handling your frames. If you go into a hive to do an inspection and you've got your bee suit on, and man, you look like a hazmat person hauling nuclear waste around. I mean, you've got everything. Your gloves are gigantic. You're killing 50 bees with your big gloves just picking up a frame. Well, if you're that person, the more hive inspections that you do, the more damage you're going to do to your bees. So what I'm saying is, if you're good with bees, if you kill as minimal as possible on doing your inspections, you can get by with doing them more often. It doesn't, what I notice when I inspect my colonies, I'm real gentle. I use smoke. I calm them down. I'm careful. I don't kill bees, try to kill as few as possible. And, I think the bees just going about their work. They don't really care that I'm there doing things. So in that sense, if you're that kind of inspector and you're doing a good inspection and you're being careful and you're going slow, that's the key. Everybody thinks slow motion. I've taught so many people how to work bees and do an inspection without any gloves on, barehanded. And you know how you do it? Do it in slow motion. And even though I tell people to go slow, it's hard for people to go slow. They're nervous, they go fast. For example, if you're prying up this side of a frame and now you need to go to the other side, slow motion is like this. You move slowly. Most people pry this side up and they move over there like that. Well, that bee's looking up with all their facets on their eyes, seeing with mosaic type images. They see this rapid image and they're drawn to it. Have you ever noticed that the faster you move, how bees are drawn to your hands or your body or something? That's why when bees are around you, people say you should be still. Don't take off running and swatting at them, Now, I know I'm speaking to a lot of beginners and you're probably taking notes. A lot of you experienced beekeepers are like, yeah, that's a good reminder. I need to slow down a little bit. Go a little slower. Bees will remain calmer if you want to work barehanded. By the way, if you want to get to where you want to work barehanded and you're right now you're wearing gloves, what I recommend is you take one glove off if you really get the nerve to go barehanded and just work them with one glove off. See how you feel, kind of build up your confidence. And then maybe next inspection, you can try taking another glove off and start working barehanded. Do I like working barehanded? Sure. Do I like being stung on the fingers? Absolutely not. And a lot of times when I'm making videos for you guys, I'm moving things around and I've got the hive open a long time, adjusting cameras. It's easier for me to put gloves on than to have to go a little bit slower. I can speed up. You don't have to worry about getting stung too much. But look at this image here in the slide. What you're going to be looking for in your inspections that you perform is, of course, you're looking for eggs. You don't have to find the queen every time. Don't kill yourself trying to find the queen. You can waste a lot of time and do some damage sometimes by maybe squeezing too many bees with your gloves on. And you might even kill the queen. So just look for eggs. Like every 2 weeks, see if there's eggs. That way you know the queen's in there laying eggs, okay? So you don't have to find the queen every single time. Look for the brood pattern. You can see an example here of solid brood. If you've never really knew what solid brood means, it means that the capped over pupae is visible here, and you can see that it's capped over. And there's a few holes showing. And I did a little test here. I got 100 cells in a square, and I put this brood viability test to see how it would shape up. And you can see, I think there's 6 open cells in there. I could have put it over anywhere where there weren't any open, but I thought it'd be fair. So about 85% is acceptable. And here we have 94% brood viability. So in this case, you can see that it helps a lot to evaluate your brood, the laying, how your queen is laying. Riddick leaves a $5 and thanks me and Sherry for all the help through the years. Thank you. I appreciate that $5 donation. I really do. I'm getting into a lot of the things that I've purchased with some of the donations you guys have left, like the Flow Hive. I got that. I'm making videos about putting that together. So thank you all for donating and helping me to use a lot of the donations for things that I can make videos with for you guys. I appreciate that. But this is a good example of solid brood pattern. I didn't really have a picture to share what a spotty brood pattern looked like. I don't like to steal other people's photos. I use mine. And but it would look like that one, only a lot more holes in it. So again, if you just see spotty brood, you'll know what it looks like. And that's a good example. So you don't have to make a long inspection. It can be 10 minutes. I encourage you guys to take a timer with you. Set it for 10 minutes, let it run, look for eggs, brood pattern, nutrition. You can do it in 10 minutes and close the hive up. You really can. Now, if you have a honey super on there and it's got honey on all frames, you might as well take that off and set it aside, especially above a queen excluder. Don't waste your time looking through a honey super for the queen, the brood pattern, and for nutrition. Okay, so how to identify eggs. Now, look at this. These are eggs in a cell. I know they're not really clear as possible, but the one right in the center looks like a little grain of rice. And as the eggs get older, they turn into more of the larvae. And you can see the larvae gets bigger around the bee, just ahead of the bee there. Thank you, Austin, for that super sticker of $5. Austin Payne, I appreciate that so much. So you can get an idea when you start looking for eggs, this is what you're going to be doing. Hey, if you have to wear readers like I do, get some powerful readers, 3.0, something big where you can really look down in those cells. Get the light behind your head. That's important. A lot of beekeepers are working bees in the shade. That's not going to work. Got to get out in the sun, let the sun come behind your head, hold the frame up in front of you. Now, remember, when you look down a frame, the cells that look like they're straight out, they're really not. They're pointed up, I think at 14 degrees, but they're pointed up like this. Down, if you look down the middle of a frame, the cells are like this. So you'll have to tilt it so you can see right down the barrel and you can look at these eggs. And, you know, identifying eggs, here's an easy way to do it. This is cool. Let me show you how to do this. If you find some capped over brood, like at the top edge of this picture, go further down and you'll see capped over pupae. You'll see big larvae. And then if you go further down, small larvae, and then you'll see the eggs. That's the easiest way to find the eggs. It's usually on the outside edges where you might already see capped brood and some larvae showing. Just work your way down so you can see those eggs. Uh-oh, something looks kind of funny here if you can see it on your screen. I hope it shows up okay. But look at that. I found a lot of eggs. You see those eggs there? Now, when you see something like this, if you look down in these cells, and number one, you don't see any brood, capped brood, or any brood at all, and you don't find your queen anywhere, you don't see any queen cells, but you see this, look at that. Laying worker. A laying worker has laid 5 or 6 of these eggs down into the cell. That's how you know it. Hey, Tom, good to see Tom. Tom is a B Team 6 member, and he and I love to share together and talk together. I appreciate your $20 donation, Tom. Good to see you. It must be your pet dog there, too. That's great. But these laying workers only lay eggs when the absence of pheromones from the queen and the brood have been gone for 2 or 3 weeks. So think about that. Some people ask me, hey, is this laying workers? But they're asking me, but they're showing me a frame of brood with larvae on it. And I'm like, no, that's not, it can't be. That's giving off a pheromone. Pheromones suppress laying workers from laying eggs. And so the brood pheromone will clamp down those female worker bees from laying eggs. They can lay a little bit of eggs, believe it or not. They're not fertilized eggs, so those eggs will become drones, but they will lay some eggs in the absence of a queen or brood. And that's what we're looking at here. Get that image in your mind. I mean, don't be panicky and think, oh gosh, I have a laying worker. Here's a tip on laying workers. Some people think you can take the bees, shake them out in the yard, and the laying workers won't fly back. Gosh, that's not accurate at all. That's an old wives' tale. Laying workers are foragers. They can fly. They fly. They forage. They come back. They lay eggs. So don't try to shake those out. It's not going to happen. And that's all been proven with recent studies. Look at this picture here. This is a good example of capped brood, pupae, and then you have open larvae that almost is at the age of being capped over. So it's probably 7, 8 days old, ready to be capped over by the bees. So as a larvae goes from egg, or the egg goes to a larvae, and then the larvae is capped over to a pupa stage. That's kind of your progress of the brood that you're going to be inspecting for. So I wanted to give you guys an idea of what you're looking at when you want to do an inspection of your brood, of your eggs especially. What if you see this in your hive? Now, if you're brand new to beekeeping and starting a new package or a nucleus or something, I hope you don't see this too soon. I've actually had packages that have swarmed, but it was my mistake. It was early on and I was a little busy or something. I installed a package in 10 frame deep, never went back when I should have to put the second deep on, and they overpopulated very fast, ran out of room, and made swarm cells ready to swarm. So you could get a first year package or a nucleus that would swarm if you don't provide them room to grow. Don't provide them too much room too soon, or they'll just chimney up into those boxes, not really drawing out the outside frames the way they should. So let them draw it about 5 to 7 frames out in the middle before you add the next box. So that's kind of something we need to keep in mind too. Now, let's talk about nutrition. We talked about making a hive inspection every 2 weeks, looking for eggs. Now, look at this. What is nutrition? Well, here's bee bread. Bee bread is a combination of some bee enzymes along with pollen and a little bit of nectar, bee saliva. So it actually is mixed together. There is some honey, capped over honey in the top left corner up there. It's kind of dark. A lot of people get freaked out like, why is this dark? Is this honey bad because it's capped over dark? No, it just means that's the color, either the color of the wax that they used, or it's the color of the nectar itself that now is honey, dark honey underneath the caps. It can be those sorts of things. It just doesn't really mean anything at all. Now, if your frame is brand new and it's brand new wax, it's going to be white. And if they go to clover, some sort of nectar that's very light in color, then yeah, that's going to be a very light frame. I'll show you one in just a minute. But this is bee bread. Most of this in this frame is nutritious bee bread. It's already fermented a little bit. And so bees mix this up, and this is a food that bees enjoy. Oh, look at this. How to identify pollen. This is a no-brainer. Now, I was at a conference recently where somebody said, hey, David, somebody told me that all pollen is bee bread. Is that true? And in the sense that all pollen does contain a little bit of enzymes from the bees, their saliva, they put that on there to make it stick to their back legs. Okay, it is true. But for all intents and purposes, we do distinguish between bee bread that has a lot of the enzymes in it, that's almost like a wet pollen, where a lot of the pollen that the bees bring in on their back legs and put in cells like in the picture here, it's more dry. I mean, it is not entirely dry and blow away, but it does have a little mixture in there. But yeah, that's a beautiful frame of what pollen looks like. A lot of beekeepers send me pictures of different pollen on the back legs of bees. They think I am just an expert botanist and I know every color of pollen known to man. Well, I don't. I'm mystified myself. Our bees go everywhere. It's crazy where they go, and especially in late winter or early spring. There's stuff that we don't even know exists out there. I mean, it's almost like cold, dead winter still, and bees are bringing stuff in, red, yellow, purple. Wow, who knows what that is, right? But that's a good example for you guys to kind of get in your head. Now, look at this frame because it's interesting. It does have some older larvae in it. So competition going on. Should we put, the bees are like, should we put this frame of a bunch of pollen in here, or should we put larvae in here? The queen's laying eggs on a frame that has pollen. Sometimes in the spring when bees go crazy bringing pollen in, yeah, they can get pollen bound. They bring so much in. So for those of you that love to collect pollen, it's not a bad idea to put a pollen trap on there on the entrance. If you want to collect some pollen, it will cut down on them getting pollen bound. A side note about pollen, if you follow my last 2 videos that I made a couple of days ago, one of the hives, the first video I made where I made the split, that hive was so aggressive in bringing pollen that I was pouring out on boards in the field for the bees to bring back. That pollen brought back tons of it. When I did the inspection, I didn't see any of that pollen in the cells at all. Wow, that means they consumed every bit of that pollen. They used it for, not to starve it. They needed that protein. They were consuming it. They weren't storing it. So in the spring, they can store it because there's so much and they do need it to raise a brood. So you'll see a difference there. So look at this frame. This is our traditional frame that you see a rainbow effect. So you have brood in the middle, capped over brood, and then you have it'd be younger brood around the cap brood. So you can't see in the cells, but we probably have eggs and larvae. And then on the outside edges, way up there glistening, is the nectar. Now, I want to talk to you about nectar. Nectar is not honey. Nectar is still what you see the nectaries give out in the flowers, and bees carry it back. It's 80% moisture. Bees dry it down to 18, 19% moisture. That's when it becomes honey. So there's no honey on this frame. But look at this next frame. This is a frame of capped over honey. It has been dried down by the bees, fanning their wings, drying it down to 18, 19%. They put their little measurements on it and say, good, let's cap it over. They cap over honey just like we can our food. We don't want any other things, moisture, getting into our canned food. So we put our food in canning jars, boil them or whatever, put the lid on it. That lid seals it off. That's what bees do to honey. They put a wax cap on it to seal it off so it stays that way and until they need it. So they're storing away their food for the future. So as we continue to talk about making an accurate hive inspection, so look for eggs, see if your queen's laying good brood pattern, and then I want you to look for nutrition, make sure the bees have nutrition in there. And then you need to think about other things. Now, I have put together an inspection guide. I put it together last year or the year before. So many people have downloaded that and do enjoy it. But here's an example from it, just a page out of it, because I encourage you guys to get my inspection guide downloaded, and then you could print it off. It's a PDF file. And so it does help you go into the hive without just looking, without knowing what you're doing. So if you take the inspection guide, put it in a 3-ring binder and say, this time I'm going to really keep track of the number of brood that I find in my inspection. I'm going to calculate the number of how many frames of eggs I have. And I made a whole video on how to use this inspection guide, by the way. But I went through it with you, and I showed you how to calculate how many eggs you have, calculate how much larvae is on those frames, and pupae, determine the amount of different resources that you have available. And that way you can make a very accurate inspection. You can still do it quickly, but you can make an actual inspection that's very accurate. Now, here's an example of the inspection guide that's available on my website. And let me see, do I have that here? I think I do. Yeah, you can look at this, follow this link or something, but it's on our website under digital products. And it's not free. I do ask just a few dollars for it for my time, but you can find it a very useful item to have in your inspection to keep you on task. Because I can't say enough how important it is that you know what you're doing on the inspection. So many people say, I'm going to go inspect my hive, and they have no idea what the agenda is. It's just like going to a meeting, but there's no agenda to the meeting, and people are just talking about gas prices, the president, and the weather. And nobody wants to go to a meeting like that. Some inspections are like that. Some beekeepers will look at their hive, but they don't, you can ask them an hour later, what did you think? And they don't really know. And get this, one time I had a clapping my hands here, I'm excited. One time I had a class here where I took groups of people and had them inspect the same hive and write a report up on what they saw. One group reported no eggs. Another group reported they saw eggs. Another group said no queen. Another group said they saw the queen. 2 or 3 groups had an entirely different analysis of that hive. And that's why it's important that people realize I need to make a thorough and accurate inspection, and it doesn't have to be 25, 30 minutes. It can be fast. Look for eggs. Look for What kind of nutrition do you have in there? What's a brood pattern like? Look at one frame. What's a brood pattern like? Capped over. It's a good solid brood pattern. I see eggs. I see good nutrition. I see nectar and combs. I'm out of there. You don't have to. We're just doing this every 2 weeks. Now, let me go on and say this, though. It is important to realize that every 2 weeks means that we are going to have to do a mite inspection. So that means that if we're inspecting colonies basically twice a month, then 1 month is going, or 1 week is going to be a fast inspection, 10-minute nutrition, eggs, and the brood. But the next inspection is going to be nutrition, eggs, brood, plus a mite test. And anything else we might see. Is a brood pattern not only good, but is there, perforated brood for American foul brood? Is my larvae sparkling and glistening in white, or is it kind of discolored for European foul brood? You want to look quickly at those things once a month, but you want to do a mite test once a month. That's my idea. Is about every 30 days. That gives you the ability to start thinking about what do I need to, what kind of trends am I seeing once a month? Are my mites getting higher or lower? I have a lot of videos on mite testing. I made a lot last summer on how to test for mites. So please do a mite test every 30 days, whether you use the alcohol, the Dawn soap wash, or if you use a powdered sugar testing method. You're going to have to make a mite test every 30 days and decide what you're going to do about the mites. I have a question here, David. What's your take on a salicylic acid vaporization on a 1 week old installed bee package? Yeah, my position on that, now it's just personally, you asked me what's my take. So my take isn't the only take. It is not the only. I'm not saying you've got to do this. I think you could do a solid vaporization on it and get away with it, do fine. It's still in a broodless state mostly, so you're able to knock a lot of mites off with a salic when it's in a broodless state. Totally get that, okay? I am for that. But what I'm not for is that new package after a week still could be unsettled. They may still abscond. They're still getting used to their new home. And if I douse them with acid, if I just bought a new house and I've been living in my new house for 7 days, all at once the roof comes off and acid pours on me, guess what? Spending the night tonight in the Holiday Inn Express while I look for a new place to live. So I don't know, bees might be okay with that. I'm just saying I would not do it. I can fight mites after they get more grounded in their hive, more established in population, stronger in numbers, the weather gets better. I'll do it then. That's just my personal take on it. So I'm not going to douse them with salicylic acid right off the bat. So back to bee inspection. How do you stay focused on the inspection? Don't get sidetracked when you're doing an inspection. Go into it knowing what you want to see. Just write 3 things down. I'm going to see this, this, this. Memorize it in your head. Inspect. Use smoke. Don't be a hero. I know a lot of people feel like, I don't want to use smoke unless I have to. It doesn't hurt the bees at all. They have antenna cleaners built into their legs. So they'll take their antenna, put it in that cleaner, fold their leg up. They'll pull it back and scrape off the micro particles of the smoke so they can talk to each other again through their antenna, picking up pheromones. That's what you're doing when you smoke them. You're cutting off the wireless cell phone service that they use. They can't talk to each other. It's blocked their receptors on their antenna. They can't really talk. And so they scrape that off so they can talk again. So when they're not talking, they kind of like, what do we do? I can't communicate. I'm not sure what's going on. They're a little more calmer that way. So don't feel like you're going to, hurt them by smoking them too much. You're not. It will help you do a more thorough inspection. But just don't forget what you're doing and not smoke them. That's a tendency we all have, is you start looking at 2 or 3 frames and all at once your smoker goes out. So be real careful to keep your smoker going, that it doesn't go out. This is my first year Straight Creek Apiary. And my bees aren't here yet. Thank you for your videos. They've made me feel comfortable and confident about everything. You know, I wished I would have had someone like this myself to rely on when I was first starting out, like video to watch. I didn't even know, I had no idea how to do stuff. You know, there was no internet. I was just using the ABC XYZ 1932 edition of that bee book. So it wasn't much going on, but yeah, that's good. It's good to know. Go do your inspection with your cell phone on your person somewhere in case you need to call. If you get like your hive starts falling over, like mine did one time, or you get stung and you start feeling ill, you want to dial 911 with a cell phone. Don't wait around. Have some Benadryl on you or something. But have a way to contact somebody if you need help, or if your smokers set your yard on fire. You want your cell phone on you, all right? Preferably if you can wear something in your ears, like the iPhone, the ear things, and then you can make a phone call from your ear pod. So you can do that with your hands full. Try to have some water on you. You can drink, and you can drink water through your screen. You don't have to take your hat off. Just hold it up to your screen. It goes right through that. If you're seeing perforated cap cells, what might that indicate? If it's in the brood area, it might indicate they haven't completely capped it over yet. So it's no need to panic just yet. Obviously, it could mean there is a brood disease like American foul brood. It could mean that, there's a problem. You need to kind of get used to what that looks like. Look at some internet pictures of American foul brood. See if there's any what we call extended tongues. That's not really what it is, but that's what we call it, extended tongues. The tarry type substance of the pupae or the larvae in that American foul brood infested cell. And of course, the rotten, terrible smell that will make it hard for you to keep your cookies down when you smell it. So look for those things. Now you can take the toothpick in that perforated cell of the brood, take a toothpick, rub it around and draw it out. And if it comes out more than a half inch or so of goo that follows the toothpick and snaps back, likely American foul brood. So you can do your own little test. I've done that several times when I thought something was going on. It wasn't that, just a weird thing. So that's it. Sometimes brood does just die and perforate like that. Yeah. Cells that are convex capped and concave capped, usually with all the brood diseases that we're talking about, American foul brood, the cappings do sink, sunken brood. So think of it that way, that the brood normally looks very healthy, but when it sinks, then we have a problem. Brood that is more sticking up a lot more, it's uneven, it's not smooth. That could be that the queen laid some drone eggs in a small cell, a worker size cell. And so anyway, those are still going to poof up a little bit. And that's probably a drone under there when you see different things. It's really fun to kind of know what you're looking at. Is when I do an inspection, I can see that so quickly and know exactly what it is. A lot of my supers on my hives, so you don't have supers on your hive in the winter. Am I right in saying if that's so? Don't need honey for winter. The reason I don't always put honey supers on my hives is because I feed them my winter bee kinds, and I feel like I can keep that food right above my bees. Some of my bees had their deeps full of honey, and it didn't make sense to me to put a honey super on top of that. So one in particular, I'm going to make a video on this particular hive, but they had a whole deep, all 10 frames full of honey, and they survived very well. But I gave them winter bee kinds, but they were like, hey, I don't really need your winter bee kinds. We've got this whole deep frame of honey. So they didn't really eat winter bee kinds. The one I made a video on recently, though, boy, they had a super on there and they drained it and they ran out of food. Without the winter bee kind, they would have been hurting. Charlie, good to see you. I like your hat, by the way. Thanks for the $9.99 donation, Charlie. Really appreciate that a lot. Charlie's really good about asking a lot of questions, leaving a lot of feedback here on my YouTube channel. Good to see you. But making your inspection, here's some mistakes you can make when you make a bee inspection, okay? Number one, you can go at it too fast. Number two, you can not have a plan. You have no idea what you're looking for. You're just having a good time opening the top up so you can say you made an inspection. Those two are big mistakes. So you've got to know what you're doing. Number 3, you don't have enough stuff with you. You got to wear reader glasses if you're farsighted. Yeah, farsighted, you need reader glasses. If you're nearsighted, you're okay. You can hold the frame up to your nose and see it. Good for you. I envy you. Sherry is that way. And but you need good lighting to see those eggs. So if you need to take a flashlight. Here's a tip for you though. Be sure and take a picture of the frames that you have a question about. You can take a picture of the eggs, come back to your computer, blow it up, and see if that's really what you're looking for. So think about the mistakes that you can avoid. Also take your cell phone, some Benadryl, be safe, and have the things necessary to make that inspection ahead of time. Hey, Jeff Thomas. If you do a walkaway split and you have several cells, can you harvest the cells? What do you think of the quality of the queens? Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that a lot. I know there's a little bit of debate about the quality of queens and when they're raised. And if you can tear down the older queens, they may be the first ones. The next queens that they raise may be better. I get all that. For me, a queen cell is a queen cell. I'm going to take my chance, you know? Yeah, I'm pretty good at raising queens. If I see a queen I don't like, I'm going to replace her anyway. So I've got plenty of queens. Yeah, I would harvest those queens and use them. I sure would. Swarm cells usually turn out pretty doggone good, in my opinion. Question, David, would you replace a new queen that isn't laying a decent brood pattern or give her time? I love this question. I really do. Here's the thing. I want to say I would replace her in an instant. I really would. I would not give her a chance to improve because I have a lot of queens available to me and I don't need to waste time waiting for her to get better. However, if you put a really good prize-winning queen from a strong colony and she has the most beautiful brood pattern and laying eggs, 2,500 eggs a day, and you put her in a struggling, weak hive, then she's not going to impress you with her laying ability. Why is that? She's not being fed well. There's not enough work. There's not enough nurse bees to feed her enough to make her lay a lot. There's not enough bees to take care of what she lays. The bees are so weak, they're going to eat the eggs she lays, giving you the impression that you bought a dud. Wow. That blows my mind to just think through that. You know, a lot of people think, I didn't get a very good queen. This hive was struggling. I bought a queen. I put it in there. She doesn't have a good brood pattern. She's not laying well. That's because she can't lay well. Not enough bees to take care of her or all the brood eggs that she's laid. They're eating the eggs she lays as protein. So give that hive a minute to build up before you judge her. So sometimes you don't want to kill the queen if she's not doing well, if it's the hive's fault. But if it's a robust hive full of a lot of bees and she's not laying well, replace her. What does banking a queen mean, and how do you bank a queen? Banking a queen, there's two different things here. We can cage a queen to break the brood cycle. That's not banking. That's caging her. Thank you, Max. Good to see you for the $5 donation there. I appreciate that. Appreciate it, Max. So when you bank a queen, it's different than caging her. I recommend you cage a queen for Mite Control during the months of July, August, September for a week. That's caging her. Banking is when you're raising queens and you have so many that you haven't sold yet. They're mated. They've been laying well, but you've pulled them and you put them in a banking frame. You put them above a deep that has a queen in it, and you put a queen excluder down and you put these queens above it in their cells so they can't get out in the cage, I mean, and then the bees up here will feed them through those cages, and you can hold them up there above a queen excluder, and you might lose some, but most of them will be fed. You can put them in a honey super, and they almost always are taken care of up in a honey super, but these, they're further away from the queen, I guess. But you can bank a mated queen, several of them, if you're just wanting to hold them and sell them in the future. That's what that means. Hey, Jay, weather conditions not great here. Should I wait for warmer wet attempts to inspect and split? In the 40s during the day and 20s at night, expecting 60s by Wednesday. Yeah, do not split. Not going to be good for you at all. Even in the 60s in the daytime, still not good to split. We want temperatures, I made a split, but I've got temperatures in the high 70s just in a couple of days. So one of those hives it's going to need a queen. I've got drones, and so they can start raising a queen in warmer weather. And when that queen emerges, it'll be warm enough for her to take a mating flight. So it's all about that in order to be able to think, wow, when can I really start splitting? So I once made the commitment that I should wait and split my hives after May 1st. And so that's kind of my thing here in Illinois. I did it early to make a video for you guys, but you could tell they weren't really needing to be split yet, but I wanted to get an upper hand because I've talked to people all across the country. So some of you are like, oh, I got to split. That's important. Okay. Looks like Sherry says, let's give away a free inspection guide. All right, let's do that. Yeah, so I'll get that set up while I keep talking here. It'll take me a minute to remember how to do that. I wasn't really prepared, Sherry. You called me off guard. See if I can find it real quick. So bee inspections are a lot of fun, and I really hope that all of you guys will get excited about making a thorough inspection, but just don't waste your time looking for the queen. I know all of you want to see the queen so bad because it makes you feel better to see the queen, but look, you don't have to find your queen every time. Look for her activity of laying the brood that she's laying. All right, we're going to give away one of my inspection guide to a winner. All you have to do is leave a comment of inspection. So inspection is the comment to leave, and hashtag inspection. Leave that comment, hashtag inspection, and then we'll start drawing comments, hashtag inspection. Thank you, Jason. David, I just made the recipe to your winter bee kind. Is the candy supposed to be clear and sticky? How does it crystallize? Love the content. You've helped me get my bees through the winter. Hey, that's good to hear, Jason. Hashtag inspection for the inspection guide. So, Jason, no, I don't think it's supposed to be as clear as probably what you're seeing. I don't know if that means you heated it differently. I'm not sure. Water mixture different. Thanks, Mark. Good to see you. Thank you, Mark O'Farrell, for that $5 super sticker. I appreciate that. So when I make the winter bee kinds, when I do the recipe and all, I'm adding a lot of other things to it. It causes it to foam up with the nutrients, and all of that protein and amino B booster amino acids and vitamins and minerals kind of get mixed in there. So mine are not clear at all. If you've ever seen them, they're pretty cloudy, and that's because there's a lot of other compounds in it. So not really sure what to tell you. That mixing up that winter bee kind took us 2 years to figure that out. Super sticker from Heather Bikaka 111. So thank you, $9.99. I really appreciate that super sticker so much. You guys are so kind to make donations. Got to be honest with you, when I see those, I'm just starting thinking, oh gosh, maybe I should do something with that money that I've been wanting to do out in the bee yard to make better videos. I'm not going to use it on myself. I don't want to do that. I want to use your donations that you give me to make better videos. Like the other day, I was filming, and I think you saw it happen. The wind blew my camera over. Actually damaged my microphone port. So there you got money invested in a very expensive camera that the wind blew over. Gosh, now I can't use that camera until I get that port fixed. And so it's like, so it's a little bit expensive running a YouTube channel. So your donations really do help a lot. I do appreciate that. Okay, we gotta go back to our giveaway here. Giveaway tool. We have 128 people that are trying for the inspection guide, and so just leave hashtag inspection, and then we'll draw it here in just a second. Let me get this set up to draw here. Figure this out. Thank you guys for being so patient with me and Sherry. Sherry, thank you, Sherry, for being behind the scenes today, keeping everything rolling. And it takes us a while to figure all this out, and we're getting better at it. I'm going to share that screen, share this screen, share that screen, but I don't think you hear me when I share this screen, do you? Let me go here. All right, now you can probably hear me. All right, yeah, inspection, we can draw it. All right, let me find it. All right, we have 135, so let's draw. Ready? All right, so we're making our draw here of the inspection guide. Who's going to win the inspection guide tonight? Eric Williams. It seems like I know that name. I don't know why. Eric Williams, congratulations. You won our inspection guide. So what you're going to do is email longlanehoneybees@gmail.com, Eric, and Sherry will say, okay, we're going to send it to you. So that'd be great. So if the rest of you are interested in that inspection guide, it is downloadable from our website. Go to our website, look under digital products. That's a big link to follow, but it will help you get your mind into how you're going to do your inspection. That'd be a big help. Absolutely. All right. Back to Mal, thanks for participating in our giveaway there. Went off pretty well. Hey, guys, I actually mowed the yard a little bit today. Actually, I was just wanted to see if my mower would run. I'm going to answer this question in just a minute. You know, every time we come out of winter and get into spring, we have these big batches of grass that just boom, you know, and you got to mow over all this uneven grass. But had trouble getting the mower going. Got a real nice mower because we live on about 5 acres, but a lot of grass to mow. But doggone it, that mower, the battery was dead. Had to charge the battery, start the mower, get it going. Oh, so frustrating, but finally got it. It smelled so good. Grass in the spring, freshly cut grass in the spring smells so good and it looks so good. What temperature, Shelly asked, what temperatures outside do you recommend doing an inspection? Very good question. Across the board, it can vary a little bit. I would say if it's 60 degrees and sunny, then you can certainly leave. You can certainly just go do that inspection. But if it's windy and 60 and cloudy, I wouldn't, because when you pull frames of capped over brood up, it can actually kill the pupae because it needs to be at a temperature of about 92.6. So keep that in mind. That's incredible to do. To have good brood and kill it by doing an early inspection. I usually wait till it's 65, but sometimes I'm having to make videos. And so I cheat a little bit and I get away with it. But 65 and sunny, bees are flying. I feel like I can do an inspection, right? That's not always true. Bees can fly at 35 to 40. It's the incubation of the pupae that can be killed by cooler weather when you pull a frame up. Thank you, Thomas. Thomas made another donation. He wants more coffee time. I love coffee time. Look at this. Here's a great mug that was sent to me. Look at that. I love this mug so much, but I love coffee time. And I got a mug today in the mail from Nevada. So I appreciate that. But I do like coffee time where I talk about life in general, things going on, how to stay positive, how to be encouraged, how to be pumped up, on fire, and how beekeeping can really help us do that. And I know some people feel like, I don't want coffee time. I don't want to talk about life. Just give me the bee information. Well, I always feel like if you're done watching the bee stuff, you can just move on and I'll have coffee time for those that want to have coffee time. So coffee time is due, Tom. So yeah, we're going to have a coffee time, hopefully really soon. So back to the temperature, make sure it's 65 or higher. Sunny days are better. We don't want to kill that brood and chill the brood and kill it. It's very easy to do. So when you're doing your hive inspections, also keep your frames in the order that you're pulling them out. If you need help in remembering that, put a dot or number the front face, the front side, the side that faces the front of the hive. Number those frames across 1 through 10 or 1 through 8, and then you can put them back in the same position. That will help the bees out a lot. Amy, $5 super sticker. Love your picture of the little bee there. Appreciate it, Amy, so much for your donation tonight. Thank you. Use that money to fix that microphone port. Once the camera fell over, and on that video, the wind blew. I mean, it was on a tripod, people, and it's a very heavy camera. And it blew it over on a tripod, 3 legs, you know. And once it blew it over, the camera was fine, but the microphone was just like, it was so annoying. It's like, oh. So anyway. So yeah, number your frames. It helps you to remember where to put them back. The only reason that's really critical is because a lot of times bees, they place this nectar, the brood, in certain places for easy access to take care of the brood. Pollen is next to the brood, and if you move it far away, it's not where it needs to be. Thank you, Brian Bennett, for your $5 super sticker. I like that picture too. Maybe that was your son. That looked like he might have been in the Air Force. I can't really tell from that far away, but looks like a proud dad to me. Oh, good. Yeah, so, well, we're almost wrapping up to 8 o'clock. Dave Kennedy, thank you for your donation, $10. Appreciate it, David. Good first name as well. Well, you're in the David fan club, aren't you? You were probably born in the 60s. The time period that I was born, David was a very popular name. And of course, I named my oldest son David, and I have a grandson or two that has carried on that name David. So that's kind of cool. Some people like that David name a lot. When you think about your inspections, number those frames, you can put them back in the same order, and then put the hive back together. And be sure to pick up your stuff when you're done doing your inspection. Put your smoker out properly. Don't burn your grass or your house down, or melt your plastic liner in your bee truck or your wife's truck. Not that I've ever done that. A friend of mine did that one. I'm speaking from a friend's point of view. Be careful with your smoker. Don't burn your fingers. Don't burn your gloves and things. My go-to smoker fuel is, by all means, burlap. Food grade burlap. All my videos have a link in it where you can buy this burlap. It's really like the bags that the gunny sacks or whatever you do the burlap race in, whatever that's called. I buy those. They're food grade, and I cut them up in little sections, and I love it so much. Oh, hey, Grayson. Yeah. Hey, David, if you have a struggling hive that also has a failing queen that is not laying much, would you feed them to improve the hive along with the queen? Thought this question also would help others. You could try it, Grayson. Again, like I said earlier, is it a problem that the queen doesn't have enough food from the nurse bees and they're eating her eggs? Or is it a problem that the queen is bad and that's why there's not much brood in there? There's not many eggs in there, right? You'll know pretty quick. So sometimes what I'll do, I'll pull a queen out, put her in a nuke somewhere, see how she does over there. If she improves over there, I can use her in the future somewhere else. But most times, if you only have one hive, you're a hobbyist, and your queen is failing, let's replace that queen. Let's not take a chance, because if you get a big gap in the brood, that's going to be detrimental to the hive, because they overlay the different age workers, the progressive age of the workers, so that all the workers advance through the stages to help each other out. Carol left a $10 donation. And she says, have a blessed Easter. You too, Carol. I appreciate that. Carol Livingston, I appreciate your $10 donation. That means a lot. Sure does. Me and Sherry will look at your donations, and we'll lay all the money out on the table and throw it up and say, wow, look at all this money people have donated. Mary Ann L. came in late and may have been already covered. Starting new. Should I purchase some drawn combs? A little bit risky in purchasing drawn combs. It's risky because you don't know what has been in them. Drawn comb could carry bacterial diseases. Thank you, Rusty, for that super sticker of $2.99. I appreciate it a lot, Rusty. So the drawn comb, it's been used before, right? So it could have brood in it, cocoons in it that may have American foul brood spores, European foul brood spores, nosema spores. It can have something like that in that drawn comb, and it's really no way to tell. Nobody can look at it and make that decision. You'll be taking a chance. So unless you know for sure, it's probably not a good idea unless it's yours and but it sounds like you're purchasing it. The person you're purchasing it from could tell you that, oh, no, it's fine, but you don't know for certain, right? I appreciate Laura saying that she loved coffee time and the great thoughts, and that motivates me to have more coffee time as well. Could try better comb. Better comb, I think, is already drawn out. Maybe it's plastic that's fuller out. I noticed in my my flow hive, that comb is already there. The cells are already built out. They just put the nectar in those plastic cells and draw it out. I see Jerry left a super sticker. Jerry Housewright. And that's a great last name. I always look at names and I think, you know, they say we get our names from our ancestors, something they physically did. I don't know if that's right. Burns must mean they were hot-headed. That burns me, you know. But Housewright must mean that your ancestors, they built houses right. That's great. So thanks, Jerry. Jerry's probably heard that many times before. That's great. Yeah, so I don't like using comb. I would never use comb from somebody else. Never. Personally, I never would. There's combs that I won't even use for myself. I'm pretty sure I had one type of nosema in a hive years ago, and I tried to use that comb again next year, and the hive failed again. I burnt that comb, burnt the frame. So be careful about that as well. All right, I'll take a couple more questions if you guys have one biting at the bit, and I'll answer a few more questions. But feel free to go out there and inspect your hives when the weather gets warm enough. And again, look rapidly. Don't be frantically going fast, but do a thorough inspection. Work in slow motion. Well, I see bee bred versus brood. Oh yeah, let me tell you about the difference between these three things. Bee bred, honey, capped over honey, and capped over brood. Thank you, Mudgy. You've left donations to me before, and I can't thank you enough. That is so nice of you. The super sticker of $10, Mudgy. I appreciate it. So these three things may be hard to identify. I wish I had time to put them on the screen, but I don't. But you have of course, you have honey that has a wax capping on it. If you don't know it, take a toothpick and poke it open. You'll see liquid honey underneath the cap. It looks waxy. It looks like candle wax. It looks like it's kind of a wet wax looking. Brood capped over pupae looks dry because it's made more of fibers. So you see fibers. It looks more like velvet, almost like cloth. Isn't that good? I mean, this is worth you coming and learning this stuff. Bee bred, it looks like, what does it look like? It looks like something that's kind of wet and gooey. It looks like something like maybe yogurt, but a little bit drier. You could put your toothpick in there and think, oh, that's it looks like pollen that has water, moisture in it. That's what it looks like. It almost looks like grease, if you think of it that way, hard grease. So it doesn't look like anything else. So I hope that description helps you out a lot. No, you cannot freeze diseases out of comb. What do you think about that? No. Freezing, no. Like you can't even freeze viruses. You can't freeze it. Hold that question up there, Sherry. I want to get back to that. But so you really, and if you can heat up viruses and you can burn things, burn bacteria, but the temperature has to be like hot enough to burn your hive up. That's why American foul brood in most states, the whole hive has to be burned, the woodenware and everything, to get rid of it. So freezing it is never going to work. Freezing helps with pests, like if you have eggs from wax moth and all, you can freeze those frames and kill eggs of small hive beetle, but freezing isn't going to help you much. When should you feed bees pollen? Spring only? Pollen, feed bees. My recommended way of feeding pollen is to buy pollen substitute, protein powder from bee stores. Ultra Bee is what I use. And I mix a teaspoon per quart of 1-to-1 sugar water and feed it to the bees. And that's how they naturally take in protein, pollen. They ingest it through their proboscis with the nectar they're consuming. And then it gets pulled back through their proventriculus into the ventriculus, where it's absorbed in their stomach walls, and they use it for energy. The first stomach, it doesn't absorb. So, but I really don't feed bees pollen, except I lay it out there, usually in the fall and in late winter, on a board for bees to fly to and get. I have videos of that. I have evidence that bees love it. They don't store it. They use it to survive until spring gets here. So feeding them pollen powder, and they have pollen powder feeders actually that can be very helpful. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We're approaching 8 o'clock. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. It has been a hoot. Check out my website at Honeybees Online. And look, please do me a favor. I make a video almost every day for you guys. And a lot of these videos go unviewed. And so I want you to go and look through my channel, click on videos, and just scroll down and start looking at a lot of these videos that many of you have missed. It's so important that for me that you get the education, that you get the answers to your questions by watching my previous videos. And it means so much to me. I'm going to say good night. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.